Welcome to the People Teaching People podcast. Joining me on the podcast is Miss Anne Goresht. A huge thank you to my friend Noreen Music for connecting me with Miss Anne so that we could have this fantastic conversation together. Before becoming an author, Miss Anne was the beloved host of the children's television show Romper Room, which aired from 1953 to 1994. The popular show was best known for its interactive format, with Miss Anne leading children through various educational activities and games. Romper Room was groundbreaking in its approach to children's media, emphasizing education and socialization in a fun, engaging way. Like an all-time favorite school teacher forever ingrained in a child's memory, Miss Anne has had an enormous impact on many children. She paved the way for several popular TV shows: Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and The Friendly Giant. Combining her unique experiences and gift for teaching children, Miss Anne entertains and captures her young audience with compassion and humor through her new book, I Am a Big Brother with a Superpower. Once again, children's imaginations are stimulated through relatable characters and colorful illustrations. After all, she has forever believed that children's books should be entertaining and educational, providing young readers with valuable life lessons. In addition to writing books, Miss Anne regularly visited the YMCA to share her love of reading and storytelling with children. She believes that every child has the potential to become a lifelong reader and hopes to inspire a new generation of book lovers. Thank you so very much for joining me today, Miss Anne.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, I wanted to start off by diving into your story, and I'm curious how the opportunity to host the television program Romper Room came to be.
It came to be because I was having a play date with my children with a girlfriend who had children the same age. And on the radio, they announced that they wanted someone to host the Romper Room because the one that was doing it had to leave. And my friend said to me, her name was Pam. Pam said, Anne, I think you should do that. Why don't you try? And I said, I don't even let my kids watch television. They should be outdoors in the fresh air and not sitting and watching TV. And I had no idea what the show was about. But I thought about it after I left, and I thought, I think I should go for a job interview just for the experience of doing it again. And the biggest reason I did it is that our finances were very tight, and I wouldn't go and have my hair done because that was superfluous. But I thought, if I have to go for an interview, I think I need to have my hair done. And so I thought, I'm going to do that. I'll get my hair done and I'll go for the interview. And that was the start of it. And I got the job. And it was funny because I had my hair done, but that they said that if you're one of the 6 people we want to have a film of, we'll call you by 6 o'clock this evening and let you know if you're one of the 6. Well, the phone rang and he said, we want you at the studio at 7:30 in the morning. So I had to get a babysitter for the morning. So expenses were going up. But anyhow, there I was. And I'll never forget my husband, who's passed on now, said to me as I was getting out of the car, he said, Anne, if anybody could do it, you can do it. And then I found out years later he didn't see the show either. But it was very cleverly done. The interview, we couldn't tell each other what happened in the studio. And I had the first interview and then the second one. But my hairdo was a big beehive and I had to sleep on it.
Oh no.
And so I had read somewhere that if you put toilet paper around your head, that it would keep the style and shape. And that's what I did. Got a babysitter. And off I went with my husband's encouragement. And it was interesting. We had to do a commercial, just a bunch of products on the table. And you chose one just to ad lib a commercial. And there were various other things they did. We read a story, pretend that you have some children around you and play a game with them. And then they said, I had the job. And they said, you'll go for training for 1 week in Baltimore, where the show originated. And as I walked up the stairs, I thought, you know, an interview and film and radio. And they said, well, we'll call you Miss Anne. And I thought, that's such an ordinary name. I wanted to change my name, but they didn't. Anyhow, that's how it all started. Quite magical.
It really is. Wow. It's quite remarkable how all those pieces sort of came together and you just went for it.
You might be interested being a teacher yourself. A product I chose on the table was an Aunt Jemima pancake mix. And I chose that and I said, you won't cook it, you won't make it, but your mom or your dad would. And that the best part would be that you'll learn how to use a knife.
I love that. That's
And,
amazing.
and so I sort of didn't look back. It fell into place for me and I enjoyed it very, very much.
Wow. So that must be quite the experience to look back on now, and how if you hadn't got that nudge and maybe if your husband hadn't offered you that encouragement and you just didn't quite decide to go for it. In life, we have sometimes those really key decisions or opportunities, and it can take us down a completely different path. And I really admire your courage in going for it and then being able to experience and enjoy that amazing opportunity for a number of years. And you must have so many memories from your time on Romper Room. And I know it probably is nearly impossible to pick just one, but maybe if there's one or two kind of memories in particular that when you think about them, they really bring a smile to your face.
Well, there are several, but the one I think I'll tell you about is it was Easter Friday. And I didn't think that my director would remember that I needed a rabbit from the zoo. And so I thought, I'll just organize it on my own. And so I ended up with 2 rabbits. And we sang, I had them on the floor, one on the table. And so the camera got a shot of the rabbit. And we had our song, I Am Bunny, Pink Ears, How Do You Do? Here's an Easter basket I have brought for you. So I brought out the second rabbit. And before I could finish the sentence, one rabbit was on top of the other. One was black, one was white. They had a tight shot. It was an amazing moment that I had to explain to the children.
Oh, goodness.
And the switchboard lit up, and all kinds of people were calling in because there were a lot of fathers home. It was Easter Friday, and they said, we would like to have one of the bunnies that was made on the show this morning. That was quite a highlight. And I got cards about it and all sorts of things. All I said about what was going on. I said, look how friendly they're being to one another.
Oh my goodness.
It was a moment that I put myself into, but it was fun.
I don't know if one would expect that necessarily, and you handled it beautifully.
And I kept smiling into the camera that wasn't focused on the bunnies, but I heard later up in the control room they were just killing themselves laughing. It ended up well.
I bet that's probably a memorable moment
It is.
for others as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a fantastic story. I really appreciate that. Now, I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and congratulations on your new book. So I'm just going to hold my copy up here. Having older kids now, so my boys are 18, 16, and 13, reading picture books to my boys, I miss. That was one of my most favorite things. So your book is called I Am a Big Brother with a Superpower. So I'm curious what inspired you to write your book, and can you tell us a little bit about the story?
Over the years, I have a son and I have a daughter, and I knew as little as anyone knows about parenting and having children, but I do remember thinking there's a moment in the day of a first baby's life when the parents will come and say, guess what? We're going to have a baby. And just as I've described in the book, the shock. What are you talking about? I'm your baby. And the confusion that ensues. And I thought if I wrote a book like that, might be helpful to the older child and to the younger one.
Well, I think it is such an important story because you're right, for well, for everybody, but for a child, having a new baby in the family is an enormous change. And with having three boys, I can see how a book like this would be very helpful, as there were new additions to our family. Along with the beautiful story that you've written, the illustrations are also incredible. And I'm wondering how you came to collaborate with the illustrator Karen Argue, and what was it about her that made you choose her as to be the person to support you with this project?
But the publisher had, I think, three people in their drawings. And what impressed me with Karen's drawings, first of all, were the colors. She really has lovely colors. And then I found out that she was nearby. She lives in Okotoks. And so we met, and she's just very sweet, and also confided in me that she's legally blind, and yet she did all these beautiful drawings. So it is the color and who she was. I just thought we could really work together, and we did.
I would say the partnership was fantastic.
Yes, I agree. Because she's really half of the book for sure because of the drawings and how she has executed them. And anything I asked her to change, she didn't question. She just did it and did it so well. As I say, her name is Karen Argue, but we never ever argued. So
That's good to
it was
hear.
a blessing.
Oh, that's amazing. So, and I'm curious too, what was your experience like working with an illustrator? Did you share what you'd written with her, or did you sit down together and develop a plan? What was that experience
No,
like?
I had pretty much an idea in my head and just put it all on the page so well and so beautifully. And I'm just very grateful to her and to have been introduced to her because she's the perfect one. It's true, in a picture book, it's 50-50. It really is. And
hmm
she certainly was.
Well, it did come together just so absolutely beautifully. Now, writing and publishing a book, Miss Anne, that's quite an undertaking. And along with, you spoke a little bit about working with Karen, your illustrator, but in general, just what was that process like for you? And did you have any surprises along the way?
Yes, I did. I thought it didn't happen. You think, oh, well, I'll write a children's book, but it's really hard because every word counts and every word makes a difference. And then Noreen came into my life and she helped me get myself organized and write and rewrite. And also, she suggested I take each page and just put it around my table in sequence and then just go from page to page to sort of read. No drawings yet. And so that was exciting when I could do that. And Noreen made an event out of it. So I'm really pleased. And so that was a beginning. And then I remember reading the book to whoever I could, and I could feel where it needed changing. And then when I thought it was perfect, I asked my granddaughter, who has two children of her own, I said, "Can I read it to you and the children?" And I read it to them, feeling very good about it. When I finished, I looked at my granddaughter, her name is Jessica, and I said, "Jessie, what do you think?" She said, "Are you sure you want me to tell you?" And I said, "Yes, that's why I did this." She said, "It's too sad." So I had to go back and get it a little lighter because I was really feeling the pain of the child who's no longer the baby. But then also we know we have superpowers, and that's where I got the title, because really our breathing is a superpower.
It really is. And I love that you sought that really authentic feedback from your granddaughter and her kids. That's hard to tell your grandma.
But she did, and I
Yeah.
thanked her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you use the word superpower, and it makes it very empowering for that older sibling in their new role, at the same time acknowledging those hard, tough feelings that are going to be there. And I still remember introducing our middle kiddo to our oldest and our youngest to our middle. And I will tell you that our middle, he was almost 3 when our youngest was born. I don't think he acknowledged really our youngest existence for almost 3 years. He
Yeah.
was there and it was fine, but they're actually really, really good friends now. Actually, all 3 of our boys are really good friends, but I think it's a little tough.
And they can keep the hurt inside for so long it becomes something else
Yeah.
for a lot of people, I think. So I hope
Yes.
the book will do what it's supposed to do,
I
just
think
help the
it will.
children.
I think it will, because there's something about stories, no matter your age, as a way of engaging people, stimulating conversation and discussion, acknowledging and talking about feeling. Stories, I think, do that for all of us. I still love stories.
Yeah.
Now, it is so incredibly inspiring, Miss Anne, that you wrote and published a book at 91 years old. And I'm wondering what motivates you to keep creating and inspiring other people.
Because life is really so precious. And we're always in a position of choosing, are we going to do this or that, or is it going to be a good day or isn't it? And it's there all the time. And I choose to have fun with it if I can. And I was going to go out on Halloween with another woman in the building, but I think I've scared her off. I said, "We can go." She's 93, I think. And I said, "It'll be great. We don't have to have a costume. We can just go as we are. All we need is a pillowcase." And I think I frightened her. But we'll see. If it won't be this year, maybe it'll be next year.
Well,
But
if you
that's what I mean. It's there.
yeah.
Halloween is here. I used to go out. Why can't I go now?
Well, if you come to Woodbine and you come to our home, we will be happy to give you candy.
Thank you.
I love that. Now, you mentioned that you're a mom of 2, is that right? And
Right.
then also a grandma and also a great grandmother. So I'm wondering how your perspectives on reading and learning have changed over the years, if at all.
Oh, the whole world has changed. It's all changed. You can't expect our children to be the parents that we were because they're living in a different world. But children are so magical, as you know. They just are so full of energy, ideas, and they're so honest and straightforward. And I just think they're wonderful. So that part hasn't changed. I think parents do have to be aware of the magic of their children.
Well, and I think that is such an important reminder because kids just have this sense of awe and wonder and curiosity. And you're right, they will ask the questions that maybe we're thinking, but we won't say out loud. And I just find it really inspiring. I taught older kids when I was a teacher, but at the end of the day, I really feel kids are kids. And even my high school chemistry students enjoyed getting stickers on their assignments and tests. And I would tell them stories and read books where it was fitting and tell them lots of jokes. And they would ask me the hard questions. And I loved that. So that awe, curiosity, and sense of wonder is pretty important to really foster.
I'm sure you were a wonderful teacher. I'm sure.
Well, there's probably a few that didn't think that. But I definitely tried my best. And I know not everyone was as passionate or excited about chemistry and biology as I was, but I certainly tried. Now, you've dedicated a lot of your life to fostering a love of reading and lifelong learning. And I'm wondering what you enjoy the most about sharing stories with children.
Well, I was volunteering before COVID at a daycare, and I became the story lady. So I'd come once a week, and I would have a book I'm going to read, but before I read it, I would tell them the story before they even got the book. So, there was always something exciting about the book that I'd chosen. And so I would read that or tell them the story. Then I would take out this book, and here it is, the story and the book and the pictures. And they were sort of shocked because they've been listening and putting the story in their mind. And that I loved that moment when they thought, oh, it's in a book. Then I would read the book to them and they enjoyed it. And I hope I've given them a joy in books, stories, because even as adults, I think it's wonderful to find a book and then just be so enjoy it, the words and the story that's happening, that you don't have any troubles. You're not where you are, you're in the book. And I love it when they experience that. I was reading to my great granddaughter the other night, and she's chosen the series of the Dragon Girls, I think it's called. And these dragons are wonderful. When they flutter their wings, just all sparkles all over. And when they sneeze sparkles. So I happened to be reading with my great granddaughter, and I sneezed. And I said, "Did you see the sparkles?" She looked at me. I said, "Well, we're talking about dragons and they sparkle." Anyhow, it's fun. I'm still having fun. I wish I could do the daycares, but I'm a little skeptical of going into the schools right now.
Yes. Well, I will tell you, my husband is an elementary school principal, and right now there's a lot of germs going around his school. So I completely understand. 'Tis the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's washing his hands are very dry from excessive washing. He's trying to stay healthy. But yeah, just storytelling and reading books is such a beautiful part in fostering relationships with your grandchildren, great grandchildren, and with children and people in general. And I love that you're still enjoying doing just that. So I'm looking for some advice from you. So if there's somebody listening who's thinking that they might like to write a children's book, or they're thinking about going into education and they're really passionate about stories and books and instilling a love of reading in children, what might be a piece of advice that you would share with them?
Just do it. Just do it. Something, you try things and it opens up another door. If you hesitate and don't even try, That's a mistake.
That's great advice, because sometimes we overthink things and then they don't happen. So that is really good advice.
Thank you.
Now, what is next for you? Do you have any upcoming projects or books or anything that you're excited about right now?
I'm going to write my memoir, and so I'm excited about that. And also, I have another children's book in mind, and so I'm thinking about it. I think I'd like to do one where I talk about empathy. But I'm going to do my memoir first because, and I'm making memories right now.
You've got some exciting things in the works. I love the idea of you writing a memoir. I'm very curious and excited to read that. And I think empathy is such a beautiful theme and idea for a children's book, because there's something so powerful about, trying to put ourselves into somebody else's shoes and really thinking about how other people are feeling. And I'm excited for that as well. Now, so obviously education and working with children, it has been a huge part of your journey. And I'm curious for yourself if you have a favorite teacher and why that person maybe is really important to you.
I think it was in grade school, and this one teacher, I remember when she talked to me or explained something to the whole class and then to me, that she really saw me, and I could feel that, and that has made a big difference. So you were in a wonderful profession and still are, so there you go.
For 4 years, I worked at the University of Calgary and got the immense privilege to work with student teachers. And one of the things we talked about is, at the end of the day, probably most of your students won't remember your lesson, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Now, when you look back at your journey so far, I'm wondering if there's something in particular that you are the most proud of.
Talking with you. That I've reached a point where I can do this, and that you can be in your house, I can be in my house. And so that's, I'm excited to be part of this. And I need a lot of help with the computer sometime, and I misplace things or I push the wrong button, but I'm excited. There's so much more to come with artificial intelligence. Maybe I'll go on with ChatGPT, or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll put the word in that about the book I want to write, and maybe it'll be done.
It is such an interesting world that we live in, and I have to tell you that I am always asking my children for help with technology. So they just seem to really know. Our youngest in particular, he's very helpful when it comes to all things technology.
That sort of puts it simply, and this is what you do.
Yeah, he's like, why are you making this so complicated?
Yeah.
I have a few rapid fire questions for you, but we don't have to go very rapidly. They never turn out that way. I'm wondering if there is something that you would love to learn about, or something that you would love to learn how to do.
Well, the computer is one thing, and using it instead of writing little notes on things, there's a place there that you can put it. I'd like to be more organized, and I hope my friendship with Noreen keeps on going, because she is helping. So I have to learn that and focus.
And it's great that you've got an amazing support in your corner as well. Noreen is an expert when it comes to all things organization, for sure. Yeah. Now, is there a book, podcast, movie, or TV show that you've learned from recently?
I learn a lot by going on YouTube and sort of picking the people I want to hear or listen to. I don't have to go to the library. I don't have to think it through a lot. It's just proof. It's there.
It's quite remarkable. Has there been a video lately that has been particularly interesting to you?
I really like listening to Yuval Harari. He's a writer, and he's written a new book called Nexus, I think, about AI. And He's written a pretty young adult book called Unstoppable Us, about the history of people.
Hmm.
And it's very well done. I really admire him.
If you could sit down and have a conversation from someone that you would love to learn from, who would that be and why?
Well, I think everybody. There's always a story there, or they've done something or that amazes me and wonder how they ever did that.
I really love that. I think everybody has a story, and I'm always so curious to learn about it. Now, education plays such a huge role in everything that we do, including how we work and live and play and build relationships. And I'm wondering if you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom for people listening that might empower or support them on their own teaching and learning journeys.
This expression I heard, I don't know how many years ago, but I keep thinking about it and using it. And it goes like this: enjoy what there is to enjoy. Don't suffer what there is to suffer, because you have that choice in every second. Some days
That's
harder
beautiful.
than others, but you just have to be grateful for what you have.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That is beautiful. And Miss Anne, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with me and to share a bit of your story and your words of wisdom with us today. So, if our listeners are curious to learn more about you and all the things that you are up to, where are the best places for them to find out more?
I have a website, and I think you've looked at the website, but anybody can go to that. That would be great. And if they pick up the book, I find that the book really is for a niche. It's for mothers that have had their first baby, they're on to their second, and just watch out. And so I hope that they find the book, and I'll try and get it out there too.
I will make sure to include that in the show notes, Miss Anne. And again, thank you so very much for joining me today. It was lovely to connect with you and to learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure for me. Thank you.